So, good morning, fellow bass fanatics. Um, it's early as usual. As you can see, I'm in a different location. I'm back in my home place. I came home to see my dad. Um, a few things I want to talk to you about this morning. Uh, I want to take you through some of the products that I'm bringing to the table. I want to talk to you about what it is I think as a lure fisherman, right, running a lure fishing site, uh, that I have to add, right? Like one is I know the product inside out because I fish it, right, and I won't sell what I don't fish, right. Um, so in that respect, then that kind of gives you the jump on guys who are just doing this as a business or whatever. It's not that I'm not doing it as a business. I am, right. And the other thing I wanted to talk to you a bit about was guiding, right? Because my health has not been good, and so I'm going to limit the number of days of guiding I do, right? I have to. It's that simple. I have to put my health first. So if you want guiding, I would suggest now is the time to contact me. All of my details are there. You can DM me on Instagram. You can email me. My email address is there online. And once the site is up and running, you'll be able to contact me through that, right? Um, Guiding slash tuition, right? So if you're just getting into the sport, right, and you want a morning of walking through your gear, whatever, um, that's all going to be available, right? But in a more limited capacity than last year, I think. We'll see how the year progresses, right? Um, I'm going to talk a little bit later about expectations of guiding, right? What guiding actually is and isn't, right? But I'm home, so I have access to all my kit, right? I have an absolutely enormous range of jig heads. I mean, it's just incredible. A phenomenal amount of Texas power heads, Aldi heads, eel heads, the offset eel heads. I mean, you name it, I got it, right? Um, but when it came to hard lures, I kind of stuck to the classics, right? Because I don't want to get stuck. I'm only a very small little business, and I don't want to get stuck with a bunch of product that I can't shift or whatever, right? So these babies are going to be available for sure, right? Which is the Feed Shallow 128. The Feed Shallow Plus will also be available, and the 155 once the 155 comes into stock. Now, that lure catches as well today as it did 20 years ago. I mean, I had a fishing trip 20 years ago with a bunch of guys from the UK. Henry Gilby was in the mix. There was just loads of fellas. And we fished estuary marks and we fished the open coast. And basically there was only one lure got used, and it was that, right? Now I can tell you a story because I think it's important. It kind of shows what can happen when you're fishing or how the bass behave. I had Mick from Jersey actually gave me an IU version of this lure. Said, "Here, try that out." Very generous of him. I was only young for at the time, and so I was fishing that on a rock mark in Wexford, and I had groups of 4 or 5 nice fish in the 4 or 5 pound bracket just following me right into the shore. And then I'm sure you all know this experience, turn around and they charge out, they scatter, right? And I dug around in my rather meager lure selection at the time, and I found a sluggo, and I put it on an offset hook, and I cast it as far as I could cast it, and the minute it hit the water, bang, I hooked into a fish, right? So what it tells you is something very simple. Some days they want it hard, some days they want it soft, right? And you've got to figure that out when you're out there on the coast. But the one thing that's for sure is if you have lures that are proven to work, right, you increase your chances of catching fish, right? This is another lure I'm definitely going to be stocking quite a bit of in a number of sizes. It's the feed popper. It is just phenomenal. It has produced incredible results this last autumn and summer. I mean, it's just fantastic. And there's a new version of that coming out that's even better, slightly heavier. They've dropped this nose. I can't show you because I don't want to take the product out of the box, but you see the nose clip. They've dropped it down a little bit. It's going to sit a bit lower in the water, and it's less inclined to slide off to the side, which is often a problem with poppers. All right. Pachinkos in all sorts of sizes, right? That's the famous yellowback, right? In the 100 I have it in the 125. You got the 125s in all sorts of colours, right? White, you got it in the Agi, right? Really nice natural sand eel colours. We got it in the 500G, okay? This I love. I absolutely love this. This colour wasn't available when I was last. This is the feed shadow. I'm not sure what the colour is. It's on the site. But if ever there was a lure that looked like a smelt, that is it right there. I mean, that's just a smasher, right? So those there. Lots of the stories, right? The story 130 in a range of colours. That's the yellowback. Gonna have Secret of Washi and a couple of other colours. The story 90. That's the classic sand eel. There it is in Agi. Right. And then there's the 500G single. So as you can see, I've kind of stuck with the classics, right? Why did I stick with the classics? Well, I stuck with the classics because the classics work, right? You know, I have a whole range of. Here's what I want to show you, right? So I bought that feed popper for the coast, right? Why? Because of that, right? Because of that underside, the red underside, red or orange on the underbelly of your lure. When you pull that over a kelp bed, I am absolutely convinced after 20 years of doing it that they see it. That's what happens. That's why it switches them on. They see that flash of red and they just, boom, up they come. And the takes I get on these types of lures are not like gentle little plucks. They're explosive. Bang, really hit the thing, you know. So let's just give you just a quick snapshot of some of the stuff. And I mean, that's a very small selection of what's there. I've focused a lot of soft plastics, a lot of top water, not so many hard lures because they're not really in fashion anymore. And I don't know why. I certainly love them. I fish them all the time. We will be getting some of the favourite Skylines when they become available. They'll be on the site. We'll have the X ones, we'll have the Black Swans. We're going to have YGK Braid, and we're going to have the top of the range Ultimate Fluorocarbon, right? So we're going to have everything you need to get you out there. And then the product I'm most looking forward to coming in, to be honest with you, is the new Ultimate bag. It just looks, sorry, I'm going to cut that light out if I can. It just looks fantastic. I mean, it just looks like it is the dog's dinner, right? Because the single, well, not the single most important thing, but one of the most important pieces of kit you've got is your bag. right? If your bag isn't right, you're not in for a good day. Like, for example, if you can't get your strap tight around your waist, when you hit those rocks, you're just totally unstable, right? And like, I'm not 20 anymore, I'm 51. When I hit the rocks, if I take a fall, I take a proper fall. I broke 2 rods last year, you know. Now, granted, I wasn't well. So that kind of leads naturally into the next topic. Sorry, a fly annoying me, um, which is the guiding, right? I guided some great people last year, but you've got to have your expectations straight about guiding. Just because you've got a guide doesn't mean you're going to catch. I mean, I think you talked to John Quinlan in Kerry, he'd tell you the very same thing. Like sometimes it can get really tough, right? And you're not paying to catch fish, right? You're paying for the person's services. You're paying for their intellectual property. You're paying for their experience or whatever. And for them to look after you and try and put you on a few fish, have a bit of crack, have a fun day. Like for me, if it's not fun, we're not fishing, right? I get a great kick out of all this. See all this pensively staring at the fish they just caught. I mean, like, what is that about? you I never got pensive about a bass in my life. I got overexcited about them, ridiculously so, right? Jumping up and down like in the dark of night with Charles Nelson one night, and the fish actually turned out to only be 69 centimeters long, but but it was nearly as wide. I mean, the thing was an absolute beast. And I totally lost my mind. I was like fucking high fiving him, and in the middle of the night, like switching on the headlamp, doing all sorts of crazy shit. But like I don't get it. Like there's an element coming into fishing that the internet has brought in. It's just like I'm not competitive by nature, right? So I don't get this whole like who's the best at what or whatever. Like what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to go to the spots I know where there's fish, and I'm going to throw my lure as many times as I can possibly throw it. I'm going to fish that whole area that's in front of me and see if I can move a fish out of it. And I'm going to switch it up and try different lures and da 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 da. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's meant to be fun, right? You're meant to be having a good time. So, anyway, I digress. But it's just about, don't expect that just because you're being guided, uh, you will catch fish. You may not. Right now, you might have a minter of a day. I had. Uh, I don't say this in any kind of boastful way because it wasn't me doing the fishing, but clients, one group, everybody had a personal best, right? I mean, it was just Derek and those. I mean, it was just a great day. Great, great, great. Unbelievable. We didn't catch loads and loads of fish, but we got some quality fish, right? And Derek, one hard-working angler, and all the lads were, and the 2 young lads, particularly Tommy and Josh, just super. Great to see those young lads, and actually that brings me on to a really interesting point, right? Everybody fishes on confidence, right? Like if you're, I don't know if this has ever happened to you. So you're fishing with 1 or 2 guys, and everybody's catching, and you're not. What happens to you? Right? You start to get anxious. You start to, what's going on here? The fucking start rattling around the box and looking at what guys are using and da 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 da. Everybody fishes on confidence. It happens to me. I mean, I meet people, I met, super nice guy, Paul Barry, down in West Cork, and he was like, Jesus Christ. He said, I can't believe I bumped into you. I watch you on YouTube. We ended up fishing together for a couple of hours, and just such a lovely guy. And I was trying to tell him on the day, you got to believe in what you're doing, right? You got to have confidence in the kit that you've got, right? So that's why I go with products that, well, they might cost a little bit more, but to me, they're worth it. Like, I know if I have a Secret Awashi, a Story 130 on a summer's morning at dawn over a reef coming on the flooding into the high water, I know if there are bass on that reef that they will be interested in that lure. There's no question. There's no question they'll come up and they'll smash it, right? Or at the very least they'll turn at it, and I'll know they're there, and I'll be able to throw a plastic, or at least I'll know, right? I'll know that there are fish there, right? So confidence is key, right? I mean, confidence is everything, and you can relax then and enjoy the day, right? Enjoy your fishing, enjoy your surroundings. I mean, for me, fishing is like a lifestyle, right? I it has saved my life in more ways than one, right? When I was a kid, I had a really tough time, and I used to just retreat into fishing books. I mean, I'll never forget them, just leafing through the pages and seeing the drawings of the bass and the lads fishing the lugworms into the waves, and just wishing, I could figure out how to do that. I mean, I caught my first bass when I was driving a motorbike. I had some of you remember them, a TS 80, was it? Or TS 70, TS 90. It was as high as you could go anyway at my age, right? It was the trials bike, and I bought it in South Tip because it had a TS Reds and it was a TS Suzuki. And that's when I began fishing, and I had a Silstar, a 3-piece beach caster, right? Big wobbly yoke now, right? And fixed spool, big fixed spool reel. And I used to fish the frozen sand eels, right? Because I didn't know how to dig bait. I didn't know anything about anything. And I was on, I'll tell you where I was. I was on Fitzgerald Strand, right? Which is beach here in Waterford. And I had the rod propped up in the, had the single beach thingy holder. The next thing, the line bellied out, and I was like, oh, Jesus, I'm not holding bottom. It should be holding bottom. There's not that much running the tide or whatever. And, I winding. And the next thing I felt this thing. Oh, Jesus Christ, the fish had almost beached itself. And like, it was a big wide open beach, and I got the fish stuck in the only reef there was on the beach. So anyway, thank God the fish came loose of the reef, right? And this was in the days before cameras and all the rest of it. And it was a 6-pound bass. Now I killed it, right? Because I was a kid, and I wanted to show my dad, I wanted him to go to be proud of me, And he was, and we prepped the fish and we ate the fish. And to this day, my dad is 89. This is his house I'm in at the minute. I come home to throw an eye on him and make sure everything is all right. But today we still enjoy a bass together. If I'm going out, he'll give me the wink. If you get one about 3 pounds, so it's lovely. But like, fishing is it's where I'm at peace, man. Everything slows down. Everything. Now, guiding is different, right? guiding can be really high pressured. Like, you want your clients to catch, you're almost willing them to fucking catch fish, um, and it's just not always going to happen. I mean, look at the season we had last year, right? You know, I've got the lads from Ultimate coming over, and I'm already anxious, thinking, Jesus Christ, tell me there's a few fish about this year. You know what I mean? Like that it's not going to be like last summer, right? But or the way around that is the spring last year fished quite well, so we'll aim for the spring, I think. You know, I think what's happened is the water temperatures have gone up, and the fish are moving offshore with the bait or what have you. Um, but I just wanted to say that, just like be good to your guides, no matter, not just me, like there's a hell of a lot of work goes into it. There's a lot of preparation. Like we might just rock up at 5 o'clock in the morning or whatever, and it seemed like everything is grand. But I've been up the night before getting all the gear ready, washing everything down, making sure I have the right lures with me so that if guys haven't got what they need, I can go here, clip that on, or whatever, And we're not making big money. Like, a fella comes into your house and fixes your sink and asks you for 200 quid. You don't bat an eyelid. But guys expect you to do 12 hours fishing for 100 quid or something. It's not going to happen. Like, I have to make a living. You know what I mean? So you've got to set the price accordingly. And now I'm VAT registered, so I've got to pay the VAT on top, right? So that's 23% of me take done before I even get out of the car, right? So, yeah, I'm not giving out or anything. I'm just trying to give you some insight into what it is to do this for a living. Like there's no certainty, right? You're fighting the elements. You're waiting on weather. You're waiting on wind, on tide. And all sorts of things can happen. All sorts of things can happen. You want to make sure everybody stays safe, right? You're not out fishing rock marks. Constantly got to be watching guys that they're not going somewhere they shouldn't go or whatever, right? And then finally, one of the things I'm thinking about doing, and what made me think about this was I was talking to Andy Davies. So I'm going to the Bass AGM, right? So I'm bringing we're bringing myself and Charles Nelson from Seawolf Lures. We're bringing some soft lures that we're producing ourselves, and we're bringing those just to showcase them a little bit. I'm bringing obviously the guiding business and the website and stuff like that, and then we're going to give it a presentation and what have you, and we have a bit of a slot booked there. They've invited us along, so thanks a million, Andy, by the way. Means a lot. A really great organisation that has done an awful lot for UK bass fishing. Actually might be worth thinking about getting it started over here, right? Maybe it is started over here and I don't know about it. If it is, let me know. But what got me thinking about what I'm about to talk to you about was that I was invited to this to do a presentation, and I thought, well, I could run workshops, right? So, take 5 or 10 anglers at a time, guys, entry level anglers, and, bring them to the man cave, show them what's what, then jump in the cars and go hit the shore for a couple of hours and just go through casting, etc., loading reels, different strengths of braid, all the things you need to know when you're getting started, right? Because, the amount of money that you could waste, like if you give me one box, one double-sided, give me a Duo 140, double-sided box, right? And 3 packs of soft plastics. I'll fish for a whole day, no problem. Now, do I have that many lures? My God, no, you want to see it. It's absolutely ridiculous, right? I need to actually auction off a bunch of stuff that's just, there's just piles of it, right? But like, absolutely, you can fish on one box, and on the website, there's going to be, a beginner's lure pack, right? Here's an entry level pack, couple of shallow runners, 2 or 3 hard lures, few soft plastics, some heads, boom, 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 some straight baits, some paddle tails, some stick baits. I just ordered, by the way, Damo in Wicklow. I love Madness. I always have. They're a fantastic company. Years ago, I was fishing with Pat O'Shea in Cork Harbour. We were fishing the Madness mother worm. But Jesus, we were absolutely, it was crazy fishing. Absolutely. Just, he had it down to a T, of course. It was his mark, I was watching him, I was like, how's he doing that? He kept hooking fish, and I couldn't get a touch, But he just knew what he was doing, right? So we're fishing a very deep water mark. And if you looked at the sounder, the fish were right on the bottom, and I wasn't letting it hit the bottom. Of course, I was fishing mid-water, and they weren't coming up for it. Now, sometimes they will, but this day they wouldn't. So Pat outfished me, I'd say, about 5-1 that day. And I lost a bass then up in the front of the harbour. It buried in the weeds, and to this day I'm convinced it's one of the biggest fish I've ever hooked. But I keep digressing off into other stories, don't I? I have a terrible habit of that. But I think that might be a runner, right? To kind of run lure fishing workshops, right? And charge whatever, not big money, right? If I had 10 people and got whatever number of quid each, I think that might be really feasible, right? And then we can all go and hit, Tramore or someplace nice and big where we've lots of space and there are fish, and we can, I can march up and down and just check how everybody's getting on and da 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 da. So that's one of the ideas I'm kicking around, particularly, in the summer, when we get plenty of bass in the evening time and stuff in the fizz and that. Yeah, that's it. So at present, the site is almost, it's ready to go, but to be honest, I'm just reluctant to open it up because I'm still getting treatment for long COVID, and I want it to be A1. So I don't want guys to be ordering stuff and then me emailing them saying, look, I'm in Cork, whatever. So I might wait until I'm actually through the treatment and then open the site when I can fully give myself to it, right? And make sure that it runs dream. If anybody, by the way, is in the carpet business, will you please message me, right? I need tubes. Tubes are so hard to find, right? And carpet rolls are perfect, right? Tubes for sending rods, some rods are fine, they come in a tube and you can send it, but even still you don't want to put a label on the tube because it messes the thing up, and some fellas like to have their stuff. Wouldn't bother me, but some guys like, so that's it. So look, exciting times, guys. I mean, it's a really well-stocked site as it is. I have another order arriving today or tomorrow. In many ways, things worked out very well. The treatment has been phenomenal. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. The only side effect is I can't sleep. It's actually about 5 o'clock in the morning, right? And I've been working for an hour and a half. Now I fell asleep at 9, but you've got so much oxygen in you, right? I mean, for those who are interested, it turns out that long COVID is partially a vascular disease, right? What has happened to me is I'm not able to utilize the oxygen that I take in through my lungs, right? So a thing called my mitochondria have become damaged, and going into the chamber at pressure, when we go to 30 feet or 28 feet or something like that, right? So the amount of pressure in the tank is the amount of pressure you would feel if you were 28 feet underwater, right? And at that pressure, osmosis, which is the movement of stuff through the cell membrane, is much simpler. So my cells become oxygenated. And I'm not joking you, I have not felt like I feel this morning in 3 years. You know, so if you know somebody who has long COVID who tells you they don't feel well, be kind to them, because it was absolutely horrible, horrible, and you'd be amazed how many anglers, right? I'm not going to name names. I said this before. How many anglers got onto me, and like I was pretty fit, like from fishing. You know, I do 4 or 5 miles a day, no bother over the rocks, jumping, and you know, it seems to have hit like really fit people. I don't know if any of you ever watched a girl on YouTube called Physics Girl, but she's this really dead smart American scientist, a physicist, and she used to have this cool channel where she showed kids, you know, and teenagers stuff from NASA and all the science stuff. But she got very, very sick, and I mean literally, it's just totally immobilized. She's now in a wheelchair. You know, I mean, it's just been a silent pandemic. And when you say to people, like I don't say to people, what's wrong with me? You know, I don't discuss it, because people get uncomfortable because there's not a lot known about it, and they don't know how to, or they try and reassure you how you'd be grand, you know. So no, I'm not grand, and I won't be grand. I haven't been grand for a long time, you know. So, I mean, I got those 3 months of remission last summer, which was fantastic. And then in September, I got very sick again. But the 3 months tell me that I can get back there, right? And if you even look back through my videos and look at how I looked, even, you know, the changes is visible. So those are some of the things that are coming, right? I'm really excited. Like, I used to lecture in labor market economics or political economy of finance and criminology and stuff. And now I'm going to be a full-time fishing guide and part-time tackle dealer. So e-commerce tackle dealer. So that's life, right? You never know what's coming, right? It's like the Chinese proverb of the farmer who finds the horse, you know. Oh, that's a great thing. Well, maybe not. So, you know, as I always say, it could be worse. Like, we could be playing golf, right? Imagine spending all your money on golf clubs and having to get dressed up like that. I mean, sweet Jesus Christ. I know, I'm only joking. I'm sure there are loads of fishermen who are golfers as well. I actually used to play quite a bit of golf. I was handy enough, except I hadn't the temperament for it. Used to lose my temper all the time. I don't when I'm fishing. I chill out when I'm fishing. I'm good cracking when I'm fishing. So that's it, guys. I'm not going to wobble on. I like to have a bit of crack, as you can tell. And I'm like that when I'm guiding. I like to have a bit of fun. It's not all super serious, right? you know, but I also like to catch fish, right? So I will do my best to put you on the fish, you know. I'll go the extra mile. I'll push the extra yard. I always have. Um, so that's it. I look forward to hearing from you all. Stay tuned. Keep in touch, and tight lines. You know, we're getting close to the sea trout. They're coming. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm going to use the light favourite and 70 and 80, 90 mil spearhead Ryukis, and maybe up to 100 mil with the Sandhill Lance and stuff. And I tie my own flies, so I'll tie a bunch of teasers and stuff and see if we can get a few decent fish out this year. I'll be fishing in Waterford and South Wexford and stuff, so we'll see if we can find a few decent trout. So we'll leave it there for today, guys. Pleasure as always, and keep her lit. Tight lines.